Hello everyone! Can't you believe it was so rainy in the morning and now the weather has completely evolved into this? I wonder how. Well, that's something called weather. In this episode, we're going to learn all about weather and even a bit of climate. Let's get the video started. Okay, in this episode, we're going to learn about weather. I wonder how it went from the sky throwing up rain all the way to this wonderful weather. There's actually a simple answer to that. See, you see the clouds? Those are something called stratus clouds. They're flat clouds that have, it's like a blanket covering up, a black blanket covering up the whole sky that can produce light rain and drizzle. Now, the stratus is not making rain. It's just really cloudy. Now, you know when it was raining so much, that's a cloud called cumulonimbus. Cumulonimbus clouds are like thunderstorm clouds that have produced lightning, thunderstorms, mostly extreme weather, like tornadoes, hurricanes, or thunderstorms. And the fluffy clouds that you see on a perfect spring day, those are called cumulus clouds. They're fluffy clouds that have perfect weather and are like probably the perfect clouds you could have. Now, last but not least, we have the cirrus clouds. They're types of clouds that means they're not raining, but if cirrus clouds appear, that means rain will happen soon. They're telling cumulonimbus clouds will appear soon. But how you can tell cirrus clouds are always shaped like a feather, like multiple feathers. But we don't have cirrus clouds right now. It looks like we have a mix of stratus and cumulus. Okay, now you're probably wondering, do meteorologists just predict weather, use guessing, or do they have a specific reason that helps them out? Well, meteorologists actually do not guess, but they use specific tools. Starting with first, the barometer. Barometer is a type of tool that measures air pressure. Then, thermometer. Thermometer, we probably all know. It measures the temperature. And then rain gauge. Rain gauge is like a small, like those test tubes? It's basically like a square test tube that has like little lines on it and it has centimeters on it. And then it measures the amount of precipitation the rain falls. And then there's the anemometer. It's a type of, you know what a weather vane is? It's basically that, but you know those like spoons those 3 spoons on like a stick and they like swirl? That's measuring the wind speed. People like in some movies, like in tornado movies, like Twisters, they have those things attached to their cars to measure. And then that's actually all the weather tools. Okay. Now, what's the difference between weather and climate? Climate is a type of weather that would stay for a long period of time, over 30 years. Weather is a day-to-day state. It will stay for a long time. Like what we experienced in the morning was weather. The raining. Now, as I didn't mention, we're not just going to talk about weather. We're going to talk about another science source. We're going to talk about matter. Basically, there's 3 states of matters. They're also called matter states. First, there's gas, a huge rock, like, for example, this rock is a solid. Next, there's liquid. Liquid is water, any fluid. And next is gas, right? Gas is basically, the steam that comes out of your car? That's called gas. Now, a perfect example of a solid and liquid, meaning, imagine, like, how do you make ice? You get a glass of water, put some water in it, put it in the freezer for about an hour. The next, when you take it out, it's become ice. So the liquid transforms into a liquid, into a solid. Now, how does that exactly happen? Okay, so now we're going to explain that. There's something in water, gas, and solid called molecules. Molecules are types of dots, and you picture them as dots actually, but in water, molecules are all spread out everywhere. They're all spread out, and then when you put the water in the freezer, all the molecules squish up together, becoming that shape that the solid becomes into an ice cube. And now, how does that exactly transfer to gas? Now, imagine you take that ice cube, put it in front of, a heater, put it under a heater, and then give it about 5 minutes. The ice is melting. But one thing, then the gas starts to flow out of the ice, and then the molecules have even more space than the liquid. Now they're free everywhere. Now they go around everywhere. They're even freer than they was in the liquid. Then the ice melts. Then they're all free. Now we're going to explain different types of solid, matter, and gas. These rocks are solid, and as I already said, the ice cube that's turning into that liquid that's turning into the ice cube with all the squished molecules is also a solid. But there are different types of solid, like, for example, a stick or this chair. There are probably more solids. If I'm gonna be honest, there are probably more solids than there are of liquids. But second, we're gonna talk about liquid. And I actually did see some liquid. Come with me. And this might be the most interesting liquid example yet. Look inside this flower. All that nectar that bees suck, that is a liquid. And even in this one too, all that nectar is all liquid. Like I said, any fluid is liquid. Now, for example, this is definitely not going to work, but what do plants absorb? Water. When it rains, in fact, we saw lots of liquid this morning, and when it rains, the rain, sometimes for example, this is actually a great plant that if you chop off, you will see water inside. Cactus store water inside of them to drink for later. Since they only get a limited amount of water in the desert, they store water in parts of the plant and then save it for later. And then if a thirsty person happens to come across a cactus, chop it open, there will be water inside. But just saying, do not try that. It makes you hallucinate a little bit. Anyways, now moving on to gas. And gas is probably the hardest matter state to find. But I'm going to give you an example. When you're cooking, this is not actually gas. It's actually steam. But there's a difference. Steam is like water vaporized. And then it's literally, that's why at the top of your, I don't know what it's called. That's why at the top of your thing, there's water at the top. But you see stuff that comes out of your car behind, that is gas. Now, how are you saying this is not a gas? This is just mist. This is not even close to gas. Mist is basically just water, vaporized water. And you know, like that feeling like humid when it's after it rains and it gets sunny, it becomes really humid. That's because the water slowly evaporates and then ascends back into the air, goes back to the clouds, and then it literally comes back. And then after this rain, all we saw, it went back into the air. Next time we have rain, it will be the same entire rain we saw today. So this is basically just water. Now we know about how weather and climate and matter states are all like. They're literally not even that much alike, but although they are kind of alike in one way. Remember how I was talking about evaporation? Evaporation basically comes after rain, which is a type of precipitation. And precipitation is a type of weather, just like snow and hail and sleet. And then there's even, and when it's related to it, because evaporation, it comes back into the air. And another word for precipitation is, I think it's condensation. I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, please. Okay, now coming to our now this is unfortunately the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed learning about weather and matter with me. Please hit the subscribe button after you're done hitting the video. I really love it. Bye everyone.